Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely.
So it's this English learning podcast called Daily Money Briefing.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
It's actually pretty cool. You get the
Yeah.
financial news and kind of a language lesson all in one.
Oh, I like that. Sort of killing two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into some really interesting sources. They're pointing towards some pretty significant shifts happening globally. Economy, policy circles, you name it.
Yeah, quite a bit going on.
Exactly. Our mission really is to cut through that noise for you, pull out the key nuggets. We've got escalating trade tensions, maybe a bit of a wobble in the big AI infrastructure bet, and a whole new economic direction possibly emerging in South Korea.
Quite the mix. Where do we start?
Let's start with trade. The sources are really highlighting this ongoing tariff situation between the U.S. and China.
Right.
And it's doing something pretty unusual now, apparently causing manufacturing to contract in both countries at the same time.
Yeah, that simultaneous contraction is quite striking. The May PMI data really lays it bare.
It does. So the U.S. figure fell to 48.5.
That's right, a 6-month low, and the third month running below that 50 mark, which signals contraction.
And China, usually the powerhouse.
Also showing strain. Their casein PMI, it drops quite sharply, actually, down to 48.3.
Right.
First time in 8 months they've been below 50. So, yeah, this dual hit is,
This isn't just happening in a vacuum. There are these flare-ups over, violating the Geneva Agreement.
exactly. It adds more fuel to the fire. These accusations, apparently, around subsidies are really, escalating things.
Which just risks more turbulence for global supply chains.
Yeah.
They're still pretty fragile.
Definitely. Still recovering from recent years.
Okay, so shifting gears now, though maybe not entirely disconnected, AI infrastructure.
Yes, the huge data center build-out.
Exactly. Wall Street's poured billions into these things. But sources are flagging potential headwinds.
Yeah, this is fascinating. A key challenge seems to be coming from, well, China again, actually. DeepSeek.
DeepSeek. What's that?
It's a new AI model they've revealed, and it's reported to be much, much more efficient.
How efficient?
Uses far less power, fewer semiconductors compared to current models. That's the report, anyway.
Huh. So you invest billions in these massive, power-hungry hardware centers.
Right.
And suddenly a software or model efficiency leap could make them, less valuable or less competitive.
That's the potential paradox, yes. Rapid software gains potentially undermining massive hardware investments.
And it's not just theoretical. Big tech canceling contracts.
That's adding to the unease, yeah. Reports of firms actually pulling back on new data center deals.
So the fear of oversupply might be becoming, real.
It certainly sounds like it. You have firms like Blackstone managing these enormous facilities. We're talking $10 billion plus.
Huge numbers.
Suddenly facing some pretty difficult questions about the future value if the demand shifts away from that specific kind of hardware setup.
Okay, so we've got pressure on traditional manufacturing from trade, potential disruption in cutting-edge tech investment. Let's pivot. How's a country like South Korea navigating this?
Well, sources are pointing to the new presidential direction there, Jae Myung-lee's victory and this idea of JMnomics.
JMnomics. Okay. What does that look like?
It seems to be broadly pro-growth, pro-industry, but with a focus on sort of targeted support for sectors that are feeling the pinch.
Like who?
Well, battery makers, for instance, they're dealing with cheaper imports, a slower EV market globally. Sources suggest they could see some significant policy help.
Makes sense. What about renewables?
Also back in the spotlight, it seems. Wind and solar specifically, with mentions of pledges for a complete energy transition.
Interesting. And AI, given the global context we just discussed.
Absolutely. That seems key. After maybe lagging a bit, sources indicate the domestic AI industry is being framed as a strategic future growth engine.
So expect more policy focus, more funding.
A pretty deliberate national strategy taking shape, it looks like.
So if we try and connect these threads, we've got global trade friction hitting manufacturing hard.
Yep.
We've got this huge tech investment boom, the AI data centers, maybe facing a correction or at least serious questions.
Driven by efficiency and maybe oversupply fears.
Right. And then you see a country like South Korea doubling down on targeted industrial policy for specific sectors like batteries, renewables, and AI.
It paints a picture of, well, a very dynamic and complex global landscape. Headwinds in some areas, deliberate support in others.
So the question this really raises for you, listening to this analysis, is how these different trends might interact. The downturn from trade wars, that possible wobble in AI infrastructure investment, and these focused national strategies, could they create unexpected feedback loops?
Or maybe offer different pathways for economic resilience.
Exactly, something to ponder as you connect these dots yourself.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.